It's all out of control. Out of control.
Hey yo crew, what's up? Pseudo here. I thought I'd go over this article that seems to have slipped under the radar. It's an interview that ArenaNet did with Sportskita, which I have never heard of, and has the worst line formatting on their website for margins, but we're going to go through it because there's some really good stuff in here, that notwithstanding. So strap in, guys. This is actually a longer interview. They ask about elite specializations, they asked about the future of the game, they actually asked about some boon balance that they don't normally address. There's a lot of good questions in here, but it's not a short article, and we're going to be going through all of it. So, put on your patience hat or skip ahead like 8 minutes to start typing angry comments because you didn't watch the video below. So the tagline is, we have to be very judicious in terms of what we choose to build. ArenaNet on present and future of Guild Wars 2. And this is essentially, I'm not sure if this is Josh or Colin or just general ArenaNet devs. It doesn't seem to say in here, but this is just a general interview that they did with some, I'm going to assume, ArenaNet employees, and hopefully not just like the pet of the cat of the intern. Let's jump into it. ArenaNet continues to stay relatively successful with Guild Wars 2 with a solid launch of its recently released expansion. Ooh, this is a fun fact. This is actually a embedded image, so AI cannot copy it. So this is a genuine interview they did. Interesting. I'll have trouble highlighting it. Anyway, let's jump into it. ArenaNet continues to stay relatively successful with Guild Wars 2 with a solid launch of its recently released expansion, Janther Wilds. Despite implementing new ideas in the existing sandbox, the new expansion fits right alongside the mess of World of Tyria. As an avid player myself, Guild Wars 2 has given me so much throughout the years that I cannot wait to see what is next for the Commander/Wayfinder. Just to give an idea of where I come from, I have been a regular Guild Wars 2 player. That's always refreshing to see that players are doing these interviews, or at least they say. Since the Path of Fire expansion, Living World Season 4 changed how I look at storytelling in video games. For me, the idea of facing defeat as a main character in a story hit differently at the time, and ever since I've always benchmarked a live service story based on the ending of that specific Living World season. This is actually one episode I highlight a lot, was the second to last episode in Living World Season 4, where you basically just spoilers. Yeah, and basically, it was told really well. Unfortunately, the writer for that episode did depart the studio right after that, but I do, that one definitely had the that episode definitely had the greatest impact on me as well. Recently, I had the opportunity to ask a few questions to the terrific minds behind the masterpiece. In a conversation with Sportskita, ArenaNet opened up about some of the future aspects the developers have been planning for the game, alongside reflecting on a few things that are present in the current sandbox. ArenaNet opens up about Guild Wars 2 future, thoughts on current meta, and more. Question: elite specializations have been really integral to professions since their introduction in Heart of Thorns. Having opted not to release more for the last two expansions, honestly probably good, but we'll see. What are your plans going forward to continue expanding on build potential? Answer: it's a little early to talk about plans for our next expansion. Weaponless profession, I'm hearing. But we're leaving our options open. Like the new weapon and relic options we've introduced over the last two expansions, whatever we do next will be focused on giving players new tools and ways to battle. Yeah, so this is something that I've thought they were going to do actually with Janther Wilds, but I'm now absolutely tinfoil hat convinced that they're going to do with the new expansion. I'm really almost certain that they're going to do a new specialization, if for no other reason than it would fit in the hero panel. Without a weapon assigned to it, which would be less development budget overall that would need to go into it, but it would also probably fill a lot of the holes that they've been trying to fill in a lot of the specializations, and then maybe hopefully they could reuse some of that development budget left over to tweak up some of the ones that are underperforming or just bugged right now. But Bloodborne 2 could come out tomorrow. At this stage of the game's life, there's a real abundance of higher difficulty content, namely raids and strikes. That is true. Does the development team currently have a primary focus between these two, or is there may be a more broad viewpoint on the subject entirely? So this is sort of in context of there being a new raid that's coming out in the next release and then a challenge mode coming later. Answer: strikes have been our go-to over the last few years. They're basically single encounter raids, and we've seen the same, some good success with them and learned a thing or two along the way. Solid. But the stars aligned during Janther Wilds development in a way that allowed us to commit to building a new raid wing, something that simply wasn't an option for us during EOD or SOTA development. Endgame PvE folks have been looking forward to a new raid for years, and when the opportunity arose, we knew we had to jump on it. It helped that we had a lot of raid/strike players on the dev team, interesting, who were advocating for it too. It's funny, it still says tweets. Let's jump over here. ArenaNet sheds light on raids and convergence in Guild Wars 2 Janther Wild. So this is just detailing, I think, if we look into this link a little bit, how the convergence/raid is going to debut. And I will have all of this linked below, so you can go check this out. This is a shorter article, but there will be a raid and then a convergence version of that raid, if I'm not mistaken. Continuing on, player feedback has been essential in guiding our approach, and the community's response to this new raid will heavily influence our future decisions. Aspirational PvE content like raids play an important role in the game, but it's not exactly a secret that it's fairly niche compared to other areas like story, open world PvE, fractals, living in the build editor, I added that one, world versus world, and even structured player versus player. Wow! Raids are more niche than PvP, that's amazing. In an ideal world, we'd do all the things, but as a direct quote, that's almost my tagline for this article. In an ideal world, we do all the things, but the reality is that we're a smaller, scrappy dev team compared to our competitors, and we have to be very judicious in terms of what we choose to build. We're constantly evaluating the opportunity cost of developing a feature or piece of content versus another. That's probably why a lot of things haven't gotten fixed. Outside of new endgame PvE content, we'd like to continue breaking down the barriers to endgame PvE so that more players can enjoy it. There's a lot of amazing content out there for players to experience, but getting your foot in the door as a new player is really intimidating and even confusing. That is very true. We've taken steps towards assessing this and addressing this in recent years, and as part of our increased attention on quality of life improvements, but we have a long to-do list of on the system side that we'd hit as time allows. This is sort of my always comment on why haven't they fixed this, why haven't they fixed that, is different people have different priorities, and again, they may not want to devote their entire development budget to fixing PvP or Bladesworn or something that doesn't get, as much niche content, or that gets much more niche attention like raids and whatnot. Question, pretty much any combat in the current Guild Wars 2 meta sees 100% Alacrity and Quickness uptime as necessities. Interesting they're actually talking about this. Even in meta events nowadays, leaders will organize 5-man groups to have both whenever possible. As an Alacrity build main myself, I wonder what your perspectives or opinions are on this meta and if you considered trying to alter it. Answer, I'd really love to know who's actually answering each of these questions. It's kind of sad they don't mention that because the perspective is important. Answer, we've discussed the significant role boons like Quickness and Alacrity play in combat and how integral they become. It's a complex topic with a lot of layers. I might catch some flack for the following hot take, but knowing what I know now, if I could go back in time to 2015 and prevent Quickness from becoming a boon and Alacrity from being added to the game, I probably would. That's really interesting because Alacrity isn't actually as strong as people think it is. Especially now, see any of my trivia topics on Alacrity, but it's basically just a 20% trait for recharge for everything on your kit almost. So that's really interesting. But yeah, good perspective. I don't know that I'd say that that they were bad choices, but they certainly caused a fundamental shift in combat and encounter meta, especially compared to the vanilla Guild Wars 2 experience. Yeah, especially compared to the vanilla Guild Wars 2 experience. That's very true. We could probably make some big changes here that would make for a better game from a game design and system standpoint, but I don't know that they would make the game more fun, if that makes sense. And it turns out that the game being fun is pretty important. 100% agree. Those boons were added 9 years ago, and most players have grown accustomed to having 100% uptime. Wow, 9 years ago. I wonder if, Heart of Thorns released in the Stone Age. Slowing combat down, or worse, making the improved... I'm old, chat. Slowing combat down, or worse, making the improved recharge and cast speeds baseline would be very contentious. I really hope they don't do that. This isn't to say that we won't experiment on this front, but we don't currently have any major reworks in the hopper. Probably good to prioritize other stuff. Question, we've been seeing a new release cadence for expansions since Secrets, with only a year gap between each. It's like a year and change, but yeah. Is there any chance we'll see a return to the original multi-year gap with Living World seasons in between? This is actually something a lot of content creators have been discussing. Answer, I have a hard time imagining a scenario where we'd return to the old ways, especially given how much success we've seen with the annual expansions. Battle passes, but they're good battle passes, but battle passes nonetheless. This cadence not only supports a sustainable dev cycle, but also allows us to bring exciting, varied content to players more frequently. 100% agree. And the pricing also is really nice for people in other regions who maybe could pick and choose between less expensive expansions, even if it's just saving 5, USD. Question: PvP has always been a significant part of Guild Wars 2, with many even considering World vs. World to be the true endgame content. Oh my gosh, this person actually plays the game. This interviewer is great so far. You rule, dude, or do that. It's also no secret that the highest end competitors are on a level of their own, making the skill curve extremely steep. That's one way of putting it. Let's talk about, maybe the metagame of win trading here a little bit. Is there anything at all you can tell us about? I wonder if they ever ask that and have to cut it out. Anyway, is there anything you can tell us about the new PvP game mode that was announced in June? Are there any intentions of using this to make PvP more accessible and to less seasoned players? Answer: the new PvP Rush game mode is designed to make PvP more accessible while still delivering a competitive and engaging experience. Push simplifies the objectives compared to Conquest by focusing on one central goal, moving the objective toward the enemy base while preventing them from doing the same. This change offers a more intuitive introduction to PvP for newer players who may have found Conquest's complexity overwhelming, but still provides the depth and teamwork that experienced PvPers thrive on. Sort of. By hosting a beta event starting in September 10th, we're involving the community in a development process to ensure it resonates with both casual and veteran players. Hopefully they take feedback on that. Our hope is that Push will bridge the gap between newcomers and seasoned players, offering a fast-paced, fun experience and ease the learning curve without compromising on competitive intensity. You know what they should really have instead of a push tutorial? No joke, they should have a tutorial on how to win trade better and do all the bullshit metagamey stuff that you need to do to hide your rating until the last second in PvP. I think that would actually go a long way to improving the scene. Salt aside, I really do like Push, but yeah, no one's going to want to play your game mode. My 2 cents on this is Push is really cool. I love the new development pipeline. No one's going to want to play it if they have to play the bullshit metagame, cheating stuff behind the scenes. But that happens in every PvP thing, but also, you should take a hard stance on that. I don't know. I don't have the solutions, but I think that a studio of 300 people might. Question: Guild Wars 2 has always had a great new player experience, managing to introduce its plethora of content at a digestible pace, while still allowing for player agency and exploration. Is there any chance we'll see the game available on other clients to attract even more new players to Tyria? Answer: if by other clients you mean console, it's unlikely. It comes up internally every now and then, and we've done due diligence on the matter, but the level of effort required to port the game to the console is immense, both from a development and gameplay perspective. I'd rather keep our team and resources focused on serving our players. While the console isn't on the horizon, we remain committed to expanding our presence on the PC platforms to welcome even more players to Tyria, which is really cool because it's not just limited to Steam, a Steam realm, or an Epic Games realm. In fact, we're actively preparing to launch on the Epic Games Store, which everyone forgot. So welcome to the 2 new people using it from Epic Games, but I get it. In the very near future, we don't have any plans to announce beyond that, but we're always looking out for opportunities to grow the community. This is great. ArenaNet, please don't let Epic Games give away free accounts. I don't want... Guild Wars 2 already has this thing where it's actually relatively bot free despite all the AFK farmers, although they sort of dealt with that recently. Please don't let them give out free core accounts. I know you're doing it with McDonald's in Canada right now. I don't want this game full of bots. Thank you. I can go play Throne and Liberty for that. Guild Wars 2 has always been a game that thrives on cooperation and group play. Whether you're wandering in the open world or doing organized meta events, you'll almost always end up tagging along with those around you in some capacity. The endgame group finder can often leave players feeling the need to use third-party tools, such as Discord and Reddit, to find a party or guild. Have there been any discussions internally about this, and if so, does the team intend to update or expand the system? It's actually a really good question because the LFG, while well-intentioned and worked, you can kind of see it in the screenshot, it's a collapsed, accordion of nonsense. While it worked once upon a time when there weren't that many categories, it sucks now. So this is a great question. We've always emphasized cooperation and community-driven experiences as core pillars of Guild Wars 2, whether through open world events or large-scale metas. Our goal is to create a world where players naturally come together to accomplish shared objectives. While the in-game group finder has helped players connect in these moments, we're aware that some players turn to third-party tools like Discord or Reddit to find more specialized groups or build long-term connections with guilds and communities. Internally, we've had ongoing discussions of how to evolve our systems to meet the needs of a modern MMO community with a link, especially as player expectations and technology has advanced. Let's click this link. I want to see... It's just a random link to something else on their site. Sick. Cool. Thanks, Sports Skida. Anyway, there are other tools in other games that let you do this a little bit better. this is something that I actually lament, and I look forward to talking with a couple more content creators about, and I always bring up. This is a brief aside. Guild Wars 2 is doing this much better thing of communicating better and also introducing systems that are meaningful to the players, but they don't ever think about, or at least haven't thought about recently, the like secondary systems of how their players interact. For instance, they put in homesteads without a global homestead chat that I could immediately turn off, but you could actually communicate since the plots of land aren't next to each other like they are in Final Fantasy XIV. They don't think about like the metagame bullshit in PvP. They don't think about, you know, just like guild tools, like how to manage a guild, more options for guild leaders, more guild missions for actual guilds, different diversified guild missions, updating the guild missions vendor. The list goes on, right? So there's lots of easy secondary things like putting a updated guild missions vendor with new rewards for guild comms, or a rotating thing maybe in there that they could do that I feel like wouldn't take that much development time. That would actually bolster a lot of the, you know, by proxy of like encouraging people to do these things in groups and find guilds, would actually bolster communities that already exist in the game, like dungeon communities or PvP communities or what have you. But they just kind of don't do that, and they tend to just put new systems in, like convergences or new strikes and whatnot, which is fine. But I do think that there are a lot of tools that exist in the game, especially in the guild panel, that they could utilize a lot better. Anyway, aside over, let's re-rail into our topic. Improving accessibility and ease of use for our group systems is something we're constantly considering and aligns with our new development strategy that puts increased attention toward improving or revamping legacy systems, see Wizard's Vault and Homesteads. And Wizard's Vault was good, it just doesn't do anything to really address what they're asking about, which is the community aspect. We're looking into ways to better integrate these systems, making it easier for players to find others without feeling the need to rely on external tools. We don't really have specific details to share at the moment. We recognize the importance of strengthening in-game tools to facilitate social connections and organized play. That's good. I'm glad that they at least acknowledge it. Our philosophy has always been to build systems that serve the community needs while staying true to the spirit of organic, cooperative gameplay that Guild Wars 2 is known for. Play alone together. Thank you so much for your time. Before signing off, is there anything you'd like to say to veterans or new players alike about the future of Guild Wars 2? Or the future of Guild Wars, dang, they're updating the first game. Answer, thank you for the opportunity, both to our veterans and new players. The future of Guild Wars 2 is incredibly exciting. We're committed to delivering new adventures, challenges, and experiences for everyone. For those who have been with us for years, we're constantly evolving the game to keep it fresh while honoring the elements that made Guild Wars 2 special. Whether it's through expansions or quality of life improvements, your continued support and feedback have shaped the game into what it is today, and we look forward to continuing that journey together. For new players, there's never been a better time to jump in. Guild Wars 2 has always embraced an inclusive, player-friendly philosophy that allows you to explore at your own pace while offering rich stories, epic battles, and a community that welcomes newcomers with open arms. That's very true, and the last part's a miracle. The community in this game rules, but again, reinforcing it would be lovely, but Guild Wars 2 is the ultimate jump in, jump out, free-to-try game. The free-to-play version doesn't hate you, and it's a really good game, so I highly recommend also checking it out. We're committed to making sure that as we expand, the game remains accessible and enjoyable for players of all skill levels. The road ahead is filled with opportunities for discovery, and we can't wait to see how you make your mark in Tyria. Guild Wars 2 Janther Wilds has 3 updates to come with story content. In all of them, players can expect a new raid and major updates scheduled for November, alongside 2 new map locations in the final 2 updates. Readers can also take a look at our detailed review of Guild Wars 2 Janther Wilds. We're never fixing Bladesworn Pseudo. Alright, cool. There's a lot of stuff they don't normally talk about in this article, like boons. My 3 cents is it's great, again, that they're communicating better and doing more of these interviews. I really would like to know who answered each question for this, because it seemed like the guy or gal asking the questions really did know and did play the game to a moderate to high level, or at least a moderate level. But it's so important to know who's answering these questions, whether it's the game director, whether it's someone for PvP, whether it's someone from the balance team. So context is king, but this is good. ArenaNet, more of this. My 3 cents. Thank you for doing this interview. It's really good. It's always great to hear you communicating a little bit better. I would really like to see more things that encourage people to have positive interactions, not fewer. And if that's reinforcing Discord communities or adding guild tools or not adding guild tools and doing something that I can't think of, that would be awesome. But yeah, let me know what you guys thought in the comments. This is a brief news update. We're getting a balance patch on October 8th, which is this coming Tuesday, so look out for that. If you are a Celestial Gear refugee, I will have a stream on Monday at 9 o'clock for sort of going over some options for that, so get subscribed. I stream Monday, Wednesday, and sometimes Friday at 9. Full Build Wars 2 build crafting content. So join us for that if that's your thing. But yeah, let me know what you guys thought. This is good. This is really solid. I really like that they're doing more of this. It's incredibly cool just from a communications perspective. And yeah, I'm Pseudo. Cheers. I will see you guys in Janther. Peace out.